I am Klein, also known as Caroline Owen, working with Wild Women Expeditions, and I am here today with Kyd Campbell in Peru, and I'm so super excited about this because I've heard so much great things about Peru and the trips and the horses especially, so I'm really excited to chat with you. I've just lost your video, so, oh, there we go. And I see you've got your friend with you. And so first of all, happy birthday. I know it was your birthday yesterday, so super excited for that.
Thanks.
And thought we'd start out, I know we have a couple of different itineraries in Peru, but the thing that's common between both of them, I know, is the horses. And I know that the women are really excited to hear what's special about the kind of horses that you use there. So maybe you can start out talking about that.
So yeah, I'm just hanging out here with my buddy Abby. His name's Abacur, and he's a pretty classic Peruvian paso horse. So yeah, a lot of people have been asking, actually. We got some messages, and people are asking about their gait, of course, because they're famous. These horses are famous for being the smoothest horses in the world. It's like in the evolution of horses, a relatively new breed. They were from the Spanish horses that got brought over and then mixed with some horses here. But they say that the beaches were so hot that they started super prancing, and they adapted them. So that doesn't sound like much of an evolution story to me. But yeah, Abby here, I got this guy. He's super classic. Yeah, he's got this kind of toasty chestnut color. Beautiful. And he's got the real nice hairdo here. And I'll get him to walk around in a couple minutes. Hopefully I can show you all of him. But he's a kind of medium-sized horse and super smooth. He's got a really pronounced gait. They lift up their front legs a lot. It's called a paso llano. Let's see if I can get him to move around and that you can see. All right. Yeah, it's tough to see. But he kind of tosses his legs out to the side. He looks a little bit like he's swimming.
Like sort of paddling motion, like this sort of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the back legs just shuffle along. And they are really smooth. I have to say, I'm from Canada. And when I came here, I thought, these are pretty much trotting horses, although they do gallop. And I liked galloping around. So I was thinking all the time, like, wow, these are kind of like, the Cadillac of horses, but not so fast and exciting. Well, they are really active and great. And when you go on a long trip, you get so much less tired. They are really super smooth. And I really appreciate them now, and actually have a really hard time going back to other horses. And luckily here in Peru, a lot of the animals are either pure pasos like this, or they're mixed with paso, and even the mules are nicely gaited. So we've got like all kinds of really comfortable animals to ride. And then I'm gonna take you to the saddle room for just a sec.
Great.
Because we use a bunch of, and here I am in the Sacred Valley. Yeah, I'm in Urubamba. So this is one of the places where we come through. And then we go way up in the highlands above the Sacred Valley. But here, these are some of our saddles, yeah? You can notice we've got a lot of padding on the saddles.
I see.
We use these big closed stirrups, so they're real safe and comfortable. And then the saddles, we use a few different kinds of saddles. I really like to take care that each saddle fits each horse and that all our saddles are comfortable for the rider. So each of our horses has their own saddle, but these are paso working saddles. Mm-hmm. So they're not the classic ones you'll see in a paso show, but they're light saddles that are pretty classic here in this whole area of South America, actually. And then we pad them up. So it's all like a lot about comfort.
Wow.
The horses are really smooth and comfortable, and yeah, the gear is also light for them. I choose not to use the classic saddles because they're from the north, from a desert region, and they're really like heavy. You can have up to 40 kilos of saddle when you use the classic cajon saddle. So we use some of them on the trail, and we have some lighter versions out there in Arequipa. And then here in Cusco, we use we use other types of saddles like that are considered work saddles that are a lot lighter.
Mm.
So yeah,
It
it's
can be a lot
important
of
that the
work.
horse is really comfortable on the trail and that the equipment's suited for the trail.
Yeah, that's great. I know that some of those Western saddles are very heavy and super hard to get up on a taller horse. So it's great to hear that the
Yeah.
saddles are a little bit lighter and really
And you
comfortable.
can see like we're surrounded by mountains here.
Mm.
So we don't do, for example, a lot of galloping or anything on our trails. We do some trotting sometimes, but mostly we're going up, we're going down, we're going on exciting trails. We're passing through areas of the highlands that we like to take care of too, because here in the Andes we're way above the tree line, right? So a lot of the plants grow very slowly.
Mhm.
The atmospheric pressure changes the growth of the plants, and so sometimes when we're up in the highlands on the ancient Inca trails, we take a lot of care. We don't run all over the big plain that's up there, but we stay on the trail because those plants grow maybe a centimeter in 10 years.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we try to take a lot of care. We have vegetation here down in I'm down here in the Sacred Valley, so just behind my ranch here, just a 2-minute walk away is the river, the Urubamba River. And so part of our ride goes along there. We go up on that ridge there. We go up through the Mara salt mines, and then we go up on the high plains. We come all around the Sacred Valley. So I can describe for you, if you want, a little bit about our trips.
That would be great. I understand there's two, and I think one is a little bit more friendly for beginners and the other one maybe not as much for beginners. So yeah, if you can start with the beginner
Yeah.
one, I think you've been talking about, that would be great.
Yeah, so the beginner ride here starts here in the Sacred Valley, and so I'm right in the center of the Sacred Valley in Urubamba, but our trip starts off in Cusco. So we spend a day in Cusco meeting up. We visit some of the important sites, and this trip is a mix. So we've got like visits to the important sites, and the important Incan sites, and then we've got some riding through the valley. We've got a break day in Ollantaytambo where we really see that important Incan site, and then we go up into the highlands all around, and at the end of the trip everyone takes off to Machu Picchu. So that trip has the riding. Each day that we go riding is it's a long day every time, but everyone can handle it. The horses are super stable. The horses are not pulling on you. They just go nicely along the trail. You can ask them to do whatever you want, but they're not really hyperactive. They're just really stable on the trail. And so the ride's really adequate for anyone, and it's a good experience for anyone who has less experience riding to go for a bit more adventure. Some parts of the Highland trip, we go along some rocky parts, but we're never like on the edge of a cliff or anything. We go on the slopes. We go up trails that are used by llama packers on the way, and we go through some very special highland areas. And what's really awesome on this trip here is that mix. So you get to see some really important sites like Ollantaytambo, the Mara salt mines, and Machu Picchu, but you get to also spend some time in the villages and in the highlands. So in the villages, we stay in some lodges. It's a project called the Inca Lodges in Patacancha and Wakawasi. We stay in 2 lodges, and it's super authentic. We stay with the families. They've learned to cook their food for us. They present us their textiles and all their techniques. And these are people that live all the time up there and wear their traditional clothes every day. They're not just doing it for us. This is really important in this area, that we still have this living, authentic culture.
Amazing. It sounds
So,
awesome. Are there certain
so
skills?
we get a lot of, yeah.
I'm going to ask you if there were certain skills that, I mean, I know you say it's a beginner friendly trip, but do you recommend that the people coming on the trip have some experience or certain skills that would be helpful in order to come on that trip? Or are they fine just to come and get on a horse for the first time?
It's good if people have been on a horse a little or have a bit of physical ability, but I think most of the wild women do. And but yeah, we can give some introduction, and the first parts of the ride are smooth. We go progressively through the ride. The tougher parts of the ride are Ollantaytambo, after we've had a break, after we've already ridden for 3 days. So yeah, it's like a progressive thing. So everyone will be able to handle it, and we support everyone with all the different abilities on the trip, and we fit them with a horse that's going to be comfortable and also interesting for them. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Sounds wonderful. I can't wait to, well, I don't know if I'm ever going to go, but I hope so. I hope one day.
Please come. Please
Yeah.
come.
Tell me about the, so you have another trip as well. Tell me a little bit about that trip. And I think it's a little bit more advanced for riders, yeah?
So the Colca Canyon is outside of Arequipa, and it's an area that's a lot less visited than here in Cusco. So we do visit a lot of ancient sites, and we'll see lots of Incan archaeological remains and stuff. But we spend a lot more time just far away from everything, and we stay in some villages. We stay with some amazing women. This year I went out and checked on all the guest houses. I even found some new ones, and most of them are run by quite older people, and they also live really in their traditional way. The whole scape of the textiles out there and their traditional food and everything is quite different than here in Cusco. And it's an area that was often transited by horse people, so the trails are really exciting out there and quite stable. In Cusco, we use like more frequented trails. Here's some of I'm just down here in the field with the horses now. And some of our horses might travel out to the Colca Canyon from Cusco. And then we have a great team out there as well that are part of the family. So yeah, in the Colca Canyon, we go way up high on the first day, and then we start to ride back down towards the Colca Valley. And in each village, we have different activities there to really get close with the culture. So we don't visit, we won't see crowds of tourists at all anywhere on that trip. And we have a really exciting team out there that spends all their time in the backcountry. I mean, the whole area is really, really special. It's a different climate out there. It's a little more deserty, a little more dry usually. And so, and a little bit colder. And that trip, we ride a little more on some of the days. So that's why it's a bit better for riders with some experience. But once again, we don't spend time on the edge of the cliff or anything like that.
So it's really the length, like the amount of time that you're riding per day that kind of ups the level of the skill required, and the fact that you're up in the mountains. You're probably doing a lot of up and down, I would imagine.
Yeah, for sure. On all the trips, we do a lot up and down. The horses are extremely sure-footed. So immediately, you know, I get all kinds of beginner riders here, and some people start off the day a bit nervous, but within a few minutes, everybody realizes that their horse is a clever horse and they're walking great. So everybody that rides with us can be relaxed.
It's just a beautiful thing when you can trust the horse you're on, and you just feel that you can let them do their thing, and you kind of get out of the way and let them do it, right?
Yeah, I have to say I used to be a kind of wild rider when I was a bunch younger, and then I got here, and I just love the space. I love the fact that we have this freedom in Peru to really travel. Like, it's one of the few countries in the world where you can really just go for it, you know, including some of the other countries where Wild Women goes, but there are not that many places anymore on the planet where you can really ride through with the consent of the communities and really be free. And I just like to do it in a chill way now with the horses, and we have really nice horses. Here's some of my mules back here that are big guys. There's Johnny Cash coming over to check me out.
Oh, he's so cute.
Yes, these guys are characters. The mules are special. So yeah, we've got a mix of like Peruvian Paso horses, and we're starting to build up a bigger team of mules too. I really fell in love with them.
And now I'm curious, it looks like they're eating hay on the ground. Are they mostly fed hay or grain, or how does it work?
They're mostly fed oat hay. And we've a few years ago there was no oat hay here, so they ate all kinds of other stuff like corn stalk, which surprised me when I got to Peru, but it's actually a great feed, with still like green corn stalk. They got some green grass and alfalfa, but the best thing is this oat hay. So we've worked with some producers here in the Sacred Valley, and also at the ranch in Arequipa, they produce their own hay, and it's a better quality. So we've been working on that for a few years, that we can keep our horses in great shape with better quality feed.
Mhm. They look in really good shape, and they look very shiny and very happy, very content.
That's this is our baby here. She's only 8 months, so she won't come on the trip, but and that's the gray guy back here. That's a Whiskey.
Aw. Oh,
Hey,
he's
buddy.
cute. So
Yeah,
cute.
he's there. Back there is the one with the white face. Can we see him?
Yes.
Yeah, buddy.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's Sirius. He's a 4-year-old working Paso horse.
And he's the chestnut there with the big white blaze.
Yeah, that guy right back there.
So cute. So
he's our newest team member.
Nice.
And then
I love him.
These guys are curious.
So, Kyd, I'm so curious. You're Canadian. How is it that you're in Peru leading horse treks? This is so interesting.
Well, I always rode. I rode when I was little, and then I studied fine arts. I'm a curator, and I worked in Europe for a bunch of years, and also in Canada, in Quebec, and then I lived in Europe. I lived in Germany, and I just wanted mountains again. I wanted to ride, so I started riding again in Germany almost 10 years ago. And then I just left. I came out to Peru for 6 months, and I'm still here. Never went to pick up my stuff. I just go to visit my family in Canada, and I'm just still here. And I met this great community here in the Sacred Valley. I got a couple of horses. I started riding. I started making more friends who like to go on long trips, and started doing that when I first moved here. So I've been here now almost 8 years in the Sacred Valley. I lived in the Colca Canyon for almost a year, and I still work with some of my best friends on the routes. So you'll see them. One of them is the father of my daughter, Wilbur Malaga, who's our host at the ranch in Arequipa, and he taught me a lot of stuff. And here we don't have a lot of vets. We don't have a lot of real horse experts. So we are that. I learned so many things. I learned about hoof care. I'm studying now about mule and donkey hoof care. I learned how to give my horses some shots if they need it. I learned a lot about the food and stuff. But these are hardy animals. And when we give them good food and constant water, they stay in good shape. So yeah, I just love it here. I have a lot of freedom to do what I love. And it's tough, being from Canada. I'm sure you can understand, like, it's tough to set up an adventure tour business, like, when you really want to go for it. Here in Peru, we have a bit more freedom. So I try to work to the same standards that I can. I've got my wilderness first responder course now done this year and stuff. I really want to work to the best standards and be as safe as possible, because here we have a lot of freedom. Nobody comes and checks on what you do and stuff. So we've got to keep up the standards ourselves. And thanks to that, it's going well for me. We've had all kinds of awesome trips.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I know there's some countries where they don't use helmets at all. So are you using helmets for the Wild Women trip for the women?
We do, yeah, and that's really my own criteria. We absolutely use helmets. We have all kinds of great gear. We go with great first aid kits. I've got another guide on the trips who's also a wilderness first responder. All the other guys have some type of first aid training as well. And we really I try to uphold the best standard for safety and basically prevention, because luckily, when we operate carefully and we keep our horses in good order and everything, we haven't had any big deals. Hey, Cash.
Yeah. I love him.
Yeah.
So are there any stories about the trip that stand out for you that you might want to share with the wild women who are thinking about coming on one of the trips?
So here in the Lares Valley, which is actually like back up behind my ranch, it's really, we do a big loop here in the Sacred Valley. But those guys at the guest houses are really amazing. Like, sometimes I've worked here and it's tough to get people to believe that you're going to really come. You show up as a tour operator and say, hey, I want to ride through your village. Can you host us? because we really want to share the profits, and we really want to share the experience with the people, the locals, and we want to have the experience with the locals. So I sometimes get to some villages and they kind of think, I don't know if they're really going to come. They're so far out there. And in the case of Patacancha, when I got up there, I to the Inca Lodge to visit for the first time, I realized that I'd already worked with those guys. They're just really active tour guys. And so they'd already worked on the Inca Trail. Some of the guys living in the village, they'd been cooks, they'd been stuff. So they received us like super pro. And this was so impressive, because the trip is cold sometimes. Maybe it might rain, or maybe it's tough, or maybe your day's long. And these guys have figured out how to have us in their traditional home, like really in a way that's super cozy as well. So this is why, like, some trips work on with camping and stuff, but I feel like when we go camping, we don't meet up with anyone. And so when I got to these places, I started to meet everyone. Here in Cusco, it's pretty small, and even in the Colca Canyon too. I've been here for 8 years, but I'm just one lady, so I'm trying to see how we can really build up a community. And everywhere I go, I run into the same people, and they're always ready to greet us and host us well. At the beginning of this year, obviously it's been complicated for everyone. Those guys were the first guys to call me up and say, hey, we're gonna come down, we're gonna sneak out of the quarantine, and we're bringing you potatoes. It must be tough, and I just felt so touched, because those guys, they live really simply up in the mountains, but they know what they have. They value what they have. They know they have all the essentials, and they were worried about us down here who run businesses and work in a different way and don't grow our own potatoes. So they showed up, they sneaked out of the quarantine, and they brought me potatoes. And this was just like so special. They believe that we're coming, they're ready for the trips and stuff, and they're really they've included me like their family. And this is really special, being a foreigner living here. So that's why I feel like a lot of times I can do what I do. I can do extreme stuff. I run my business pretty small as well, so it's nice to have this extended business family around me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like you're really supporting the local communities, and they're really appreciating that support and giving back to you as well, which is such a wonderful thing to have that relationship with the people around you, especially as you
I
say.
just love being in the mountains, and so a lot of times on Sundays I'll just drive up to one of the villages, and it's a long drive, 3 or 4 hours up, but I'll just drive up and spend the day with them, cook some stuff. Sometimes we practice like laying out the beds in a nice way. We do things so that they're learning. I have a nice day. I take my daughter up with me, and yeah, that's the kind of relationship that we try to have with all of our partners on the route.
Wonderful. Is your daughter riding horses?
She is. She's 3.5. She can ride alone. She rides Abby, who's up there, and she rides her mule, Josias.
Oh, wow. So when you say you go up into the mountains, it's a 3-hour drive for you, like in a vehicle, not on a horse, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I go up as well. I have a bunch of routes here, so I go up a lot on horseback to some villages that don't have any vehicle access. But some of them, like Patacancha that we ride to, does have a vehicle access. So I just go up and hang out with those guys on Sundays. We're family now.
Well, that sounds so amazing. Are there any other stories you want to share about the trips, or about Peru, or the people, the horse?
Well, I'm really into the food here, and so all along the routes, we're gonna have a lot of different experiences with food. We're gonna have a chance to cook in traditional ways as well. So there's a thing here that's called pachamanca, and also watia is similar, where we make like an oven out of balls of dirt or out of stones, kind of like an igloo, and then you make a fire inside, and you put your food in there, and then you knock the thing down. And so all your potatoes and meat and everything cooks inside that watia. So we're going to do that in the Sacred Valley trip, and also out on the Colca Canyon trip, because this is really traditional. What people do a lot of times is they go out to the field to collect their potatoes or beans, and they make a watia, and that's what they eat. They just eat potatoes and beans. So yeah, so we're going to have a lot of like really traditional Andean flavors out here, and have a chance to cook like that. And we do it sometimes here. Like we just go for a hike and then cook out there in the mountain. It's pretty typical.
Wow, it sounds so different from life in Canada. It must be amazing.
It is. It is. I like to visit my family in Canada, but I'm kind of adapted over here now.
And it looks like the weather's pretty warm there today. So what season are you in right now?
Yeah, we're coming into spring now. Our coldest months are like July, July, August, September. And so, but look, I'm just like here
Mhm.
with no sleeves hanging out. The climate here in the Sacred Valley is exceptional. When we get up to the higher mountain, it's colder. So you can have some time in the day where it'll be like, you might be riding in a t-shirt, and then by the evening you want to get on all your warm clothes. So it's an extreme mountain climate. We're relatively close to the equator, so we don't have that much change in the year. It doesn't get super extreme cold or super extreme hot, but it's really comfortable. The Colca Canyon is a little bit colder at night, but we program the trips so that it's in the comfortable season as well. We program the trips around the rainy season. A lot of people talk about the rainy season in Peru, but actually it rarely rains all day. It's not that tough. So yeah. But we program our trips around that because sometimes the trails get slippy and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
dates of the trips in both areas are the optimal dates for riding around.
Lovely. I can see this mountain behind you and I just want to climb up it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we can see way back down the Sacred Valley.
Incredible. Wow. Now, it's quite high elevation. The ranch, what is the elevation where you are right now?
We're at 2,600 meters here in the valley. So it's a little bit lower than Cusco.
And
I
then,
know that a lot of people have been asking about the altitude, how it's going to affect them. So some of the things that we do, we watch out. Part of our wilderness first responder course is really to be able to notice if somebody's suffering from the altitude. And we also super adjust the diets and the amount of exercise in the first few days of the trip to let everyone adapt as well as possible.
Oh, that's good. Does anyone ever have issues with the acclimatizing to the height, or and what happens if they do have issues?
So when I first came to Cusco, like the second day I got there, I decided to go for a big run up and check out the archaeological sites. But there's a lot of steps in Cusco. It's kind of like a bowl-shaped city. And so one moment, I ran all over the town, and I ate like this big, awesome Cuscanian meal and everything. And I got a really big headache at night. And I saw that just by drinking a lot of water and taking an ibuprofen. And so it wasn't like anything, life-threatening at all. You definitely feel more tired when you walk. You feel like, wow, I feel like, a little warm, a little tired on the first days and stuff. But as long as you take up the pace in a comfortable way, then most people are fine. And yeah, it's I think it's important that everybody discuss with their doctor if they have some kind of a concern. But I also think that it's important to take care, so taking some of the altitude pills, because sometimes they just give you a lot of nausea and stuff and make you even more uncomfortable, and you might not need them. Also, our riding trips aren't quite like a trekking trip, no? Our cardio exercise isn't quite as hardcore. So most of our riders do really fine on the trip.
And I guess the horses are just so used to the climate there that they don't.
The horses are born here. So we have Abi actually is the only one who was born in Lima. He's a registered fancy show horse, but he's been very adapted to the mountain now. But he's been in the valley for more than 10 years now. But the others are all from the high altitude, either around Cusco or from Arequipa, born here, and so they're fully adapted.
Wow, amazing. They're amazing horses. I've ridden a lot in Iceland, and they're also gaited horses in Iceland. Now, I don't know if you've ever ridden an Icelandic horse or how it might compare to the tolt, the gait of the horses, because the tolt is very.
I haven't ridden any of them.
Okay. Yeah, so I imagine it's fairly similar. And do your horses naturally do this gait, or do you have to work kind of a little bit to get them there?
No, they naturally do it. They're born like that. Their whole shoulder structure is actually different. And yeah, I mean, Yanten was born here. She's from our mare who's up above, a working paso horse, and she's got the gait. She had the gait from the first day. So they're pretty gangly when they're first born. But they have the gait. And for show horses, they'll go working the gait even nicer and stuff, but they absolutely have the gait. So you never have to post on your horse. You just sit to the trot, for example, all the time.
Nice, nice. All right, wonderful. So I think we've covered most of or pretty much all of what I wanted to talk to you about today. But just before we close off, just anything else that could inspire the women to come and ride those horses and be there in Peru and enjoy the mountains. Anything else you want to share?
So I want to share that, yeah, you know, we're really open to everyone coming to ride on these trips, and we also are really going to share a lot of culture with you. You know, the trips are about the horses, about the textiles, about the food here, about the mountains, about the history and everything. So yeah, if you have any questions, definitely, you know, post them on the Wild Women pages. I'll do my best to answer. And yeah, you know, we'd love to see you here. These are pretty private trips. We really do our best to stay off the common track. So sometimes we dive into one of the archaeological sites where we might see more people, but most of the time we're really on our own in intimate situations with locals in the mountains. So yeah, please, you know, come with your sisters, come with your friends and stuff. It's going to be a really amazing experience.
Wow, I can't wait. I can't wait to hear the reports that come back, and I've heard some already, and everyone is loving going to Peru and spending time out there. So super excited to hear all about it. So thank you so
and
much.
For those coming on the trip to Arequipa, which is pretty far off from Cusco, we're also offering an extension here, so we can help out organizing your trip to Machu Picchu, because I think almost everybody who's going to come all the way to Peru wants to head up there. So that's also available on the Wild Women's site.
That's really wonderful. And I know a lot of women have some concerns about traveling on their own and you know, wanting to add a bit onto their trip, but aren't sure how to organize that or how to make that happen. So it's so wonderful to have someone on the ground who's able and willing to organize and sort that out and get the women sort of into their next adventure. Wonderful.
Yeah, I want to say too that I've traveled very safely here. I've been traveling on my own, heading off to livestock fairs and different stuff on my own as a foreign woman. Even when I first got here, I didn't speak Spanish, and I did that kind of stuff. So Peru is a relatively safe place, and you know, we guide everyone around safely, but also I think everyone can feel quite comfortable here.
That's great to know, because not all places are like that. So to know that as a single woman you felt safe traveling around by yourself is huge. That's great.
Yeah.
Right.
So thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, hopefully you'll make it out, and yeah, really please reach out if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, definitely. So people can write on the Wild Women page, and you look at that regularly and you'll answer questions there.
Yeah, I've really been appreciating that community and everyone sharing their adventures and stuff. It's really amazing. I'm so happy to be part of it now.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Ciao.